Hello, everybody. I'm Max McAllister, president of Traction Dynamics, all cycle suspension service. My company specializes in motorcycle and mountain bike suspensions. And I wanted to talk to you today. I have a series of just helpful tips for typically beginner and intermediate cyclists called Cycle with Max. But I want to talk today about what to wear for cold weather. And in particular, I want to translate that into what to wear for the Leadville Trail 100 mountain bike race, which is my particular passion in the big event that I train for each year. It's probably the single biggest thing I see cyclists make is a generic question of what should I wear for this race or for this ride or whatever. You really can't take advice from anybody on this topic except yourself. So my advice, and particularly for anybody who's headed out to Leadville, is don't take advice from anyone. You need to learn your body, know how it functions in various temperatures. So I'm going to come to that. Anytime you go to a group ride, if you were to just turn your head around and look at the people, you might see it, and let's say it's 40 degrees outside. In 40 degrees, you're going to see people in full-length thermal bibs with a jacket on. You might even see balaclavas, and there's invariably going to be a guy standing there in a kit bottom with bare legs and just like a little Under Armour under his jersey, and just a helmet on. Now, those two people can't ask each other what to wear, because their opinion on what keeps them comfortable and able to function is completely, totally unrelated. Now, some people live and train in conditions where it's cool all the time. They are acclimatized to cold weather. Other people never experience cold weather. They've never even there's some people who've never seen snow. Okay, so you can't tell a guy who's never seen snow that he'll be fine at Leadville in a kit bottom, or that he's going to be hot on the first climb. It's ridiculous to suggest to another human being that you've never met that you know what they should put on their body for an event, or for a particular temperature, or for a particular event. Now, so it's important for you as a cyclist in general. So let's talk the first part here. I'm going to aim at general cyclists who normally watch Cycle with Max, and they're beginner and intermediate cyclists. Okay, go out and ride and say, wow, today I'm cold. I don't have enough clothes on. Make sure you look at the temperature somewhere. Hopefully you have a Garmin. Garmin's, whether you know it or not, has a field you can just select, and it gives you the ambient temperature of what's actually happening. Not what you saw on your phone, but what temperature it actually was while you were riding or while you moved into the wind. So your Garmin knows the actual temperature your body was experiencing. Take note of that and say, okay, at this level of clothing, I was too hot. Or at this level of clothing, I was just right. And I've tried to break it into 10-degree increments, because otherwise it just gets kind of too hard to keep track of it all. But I kind of know what I'm going to have to put on at what temperature for both mountain biking and or road biking, because they're both very different experiences. One, you move into the wind very quickly, as a rule on a road bike. And a mountain bike, you're not going to be moving so fast, and you're going to be doing more bursty, more interval-y type stuff. So, and the only other condition that I really like to point out to people should take into consideration is if there's high humidity, a lot of moisture in the air. You're not going to experience that at Leadville. But 30 to 35 or 40 degrees with a lot of moisture in the air will go straight to your bones. And I've ridden in 20 degrees where I was not as cold because it was bone dry as when I rode in 35 degrees when there was a lot of moisture in the air. So you have to learn you. Now, you're going to notice on a given ride, when you stand around, you're going to notice you have more clothes on than everybody else. Okay, you're a cold-natured rider. You need to know that about yourself. When you see somebody standing around with nothing on, that's a hot-natured rider. Okay? You can't ask him why he's like that or why she's like that. That's just the way they are. You just have to ride with the clothing that makes you comfortable. If you say, oh, I'm going to plan, now let's talk about Leadville, potentially a 12-hour long race. You can't plan for what you're going to be wearing 12 hours away and say, well, it'll be 70 degrees in the afternoon. I'm just going to tough it out. When you go out and you're freezing cold, you're so distracted while you're trying to do something so challenging, and you end up burning lots of energy because you're cold. If you're a cold-natured person or you come from a hot climate, okay, you can't just ride around naked like somebody, half naked, or in a normal kit like somebody who lives in Colorado and is used to riding around in the cold all the time. It's not going to work. Your body's not acclimatized to that, the same way you won't be necessarily acclimatized to the altitude. So, let's talk about directly as relates to Leadville. By the way, I've completed Leadville 4 times. I've been there 5 years in a row. I competed 4 times, finished 3, failed 1 time, and my first year I went and volunteered. So I've been in Leadville 5 years in a row. Pretty safely, you can say it's 40 degrees while you're standing at the start. In the afternoon, it's going to get to be 70 degrees when the race is at its warmest in the middle of the day. That's pretty standard. But when you roll out and go down the hill, you will have been standing still, jumping up and down, freezing, theoretically, at the starting line for half an hour or whatever it takes, how long early you get there. And then you're going to go down a hill at 25 miles an hour for 5 miles. And consistently, by the time we get to the bottom of the first climb each year, my Garmin reads 26 or 27 degrees. Now, if you go to the Leadville 100 Mountain Bike Participants Forum, you'll see people say, oh, you'll be so hot at the bottom of St. Kevin's, you're going to be peeling clothes off. Okay, you can't tell me that. That's ridiculous to tell me that, because you don't know me, all right? Or when you get to the top of the first climb, you'll be burning up. You don't know me. I don't know you. Don't tell me that. Don't tell some person who is not inexperienced at Leadville that they're going to be burning up. So to clarify this, the first year I competed at Leadville was 2015. People talked about a heat wave. It was, the conditions were, there was a word, it was, basically insufferable. You could barely move. It was so hot. It was 70 degrees, okay? So I live and train in Georgia. I go out for century rides in June where the sun comes up. It's still dark out, effectively, or the first light, and I'm getting ready to go for a century ride. It's 80 degrees in the dark. I'm sweating on my forearms, standing still, and then I ride 100 miles into 95-degree temperatures, okay? I am not acclimatized to the cold. When I go to Leadville, I'm freezing. So I ride in thermal jersey, the undervest. I have my normal jersey on. I have thick, heavy gloves. I have thermal leg warmers, full length on my body. I have full wool socks. And I have a thermal skull cap on under my helmet. All right, and I ride that way through mile 60, just so you understand. I'll ride up Columbine like that with warmers on. So most people think that's insane. It's because I'm freezing in Leadville. I'm never going to get hot there. There's never going to be a day when I come across the finish line at Leadville and go, wow, that was hot, because I don't come from that environment. Okay, so there's going to be people that come from Leadville from around the world, South Americans. They've never even seen a snowflake, except maybe on American television. So that's not going to be realistic to suggest to someone like that. When I'm coming down the hill, by the time I get to the bottom of St. Kevin's, I'm shivering on my bike. I'm so cold in my thermal clothing that I'm shivering on my bike. I can't feel the tips of my fingers a lot of times through my gloves, okay? So you have to know your own body. Now, the only circumstance where this is a big problem is if you're a person that comes from a hot climate and you don't get any opportunity to learn what your body's going to need for given temperatures, right? And in that case, the only thing I can hope for you is that you come to Leadville a week or 10 days early and you get out every morning, bring a lot of assorted clothing with you, and find what's going to make you comfortable. Now, people are concerned about, I've got too much stuff on, and I'm going to be hot, and what would I do? There's so many rest stops at Leadville that you're like an hour between a stop at worst at any given moment. All right, so people don't understand that. There's stops everywhere. If you need to get rid of some clothing, just get rid of some clothing if you've missed the setup, so to speak. So there's a stop at mile 16 or 12-ish, mile 12 of Carter Summit. That's like 1 hour in. And by the way, these times I'm a 12-hour rider. I'm a guy that finishes, between at 11:15 to 12 hours. That's my window. I'm the guy just trying to get the belt buckle. I'm not a pro. If you're a pro and you can do it in under 9 hours, this video probably doesn't mean much to you because you already know all the clothing you need at all levels. Now, so if you're a person first time coming to an extreme event like this, and you're in an extreme climate like Leadville, which can change at any given moment, obviously everybody worries about picking the right mix of stuff to have with them or on them or nearby. So, for me, I can stop at Carter Summit, I can stop at Pipeline at mile 27. Even when I get to the main pit area at Twin Lakes, that's 3.5 hours for me. In 3.5 hours, look, when you get to the top of Carter Summit, it's 45 degrees. When you get to Pipeline, it's typically 50 to 55 degrees out. Are you cold when it's 55? Well, let somebody tell you to have your bare legs and just rough it. It's not a good suggestion for you. It'll be 60 degrees when you get to Twin Lakes the first time. Now, your inclination might be to take clothing off right there, and that's a possibility. The only warning I give people is it's typically 25 degrees colder at the top of Columbine Mountain, okay? So if it's 60 degrees when you get there, it might be 45 or 50 degrees on top of Columbine. Are you going to be cold? Is that going to be a problem for you? Okay, if it is, you might not want to strip yet. So for me, historically, I'm cold. I strip when I come back for the first time at mile 60 is the first time I'll take arm warmers off, first time I take leg warmers off, full length thermal leg warmers will be mile 60 for me. Now, that's not you, that's me. But what I'm trying to tell you is you gotta learn your own body and don't let other people tell you what they're doing or how it affects them. You're gonna have to hopefully find some environments where you can know my body works this way from 60 to 70, 50 to 60, 40 to 50, 30 to, and by the way, 30 to 40, because you're gonna spend an hour and a half roughly at a temperature between 30 and 40 degrees. There's two significant long descents. That's the one from the start out to St. Kevin's, where you'll be freezing cold. And you ride up St. Kevin's and around the top to Carter Summit, and then there's 2 miles as fast as your bicycle will go down a paved road. I'm shivering on the bike as I go down that hill, shaking the bike. That's how cold I am, okay? Because my body is naturally doing that. I'm not doing it. I can't control it. I'm freezing, okay? So that's just how that is. And so from there, you'll have a long climb up Sugarloaf and down Powerline and all that, and you cross the flatlands out to Pipeline. But Pipeline, you're there at 2.5 hours or something. Okay, you'll have a drop bag there. You can take some clothing off there. It's a good place. They have a proper aid station there with all kinds of food and supplies, and you can have a bag there even if you don't have crew. If you feel like you want to shed some stuff, there's an opportunity to do it. Being distracted because you got the wrong gear on. So you also need to decide, would I rather be cold or would I rather be warm? Some people would rather be warm. Some people would rather be cold. You gotta know you. So my advice to you is, don't take advice from anyone, not even me. But I will tell you the best tip I got came from Roxanne Hall. And this is probably the most versatile little thing that everybody at Leadville should have hidden on their bike somewhere. It's a good old-fashioned shower cap. Go to the drugstore, buy 3 or 4 of them, different models, and see what suits your helmet. I suggest you get one that's kind of durable so it doesn't tear or mess up easily. This is as good as a thermal cap on your head. It folds up incredibly tiny, takes up no space on the bike. I'm sure you've seen years of videos where it's hailing on top of Columbine. It could rain at any moment. Depending, who knows what the temp will be on any given year. But if you take this out and put this over your helmet, this will keep a tremendous amount of heat in your body by keeping your head from escaping from your head. And if it's raining, it'll kind of also keep you dry a little bit under there. So somewhere on your bike, that's a tip that I got from Roxanne Hall, who's obviously succeeded many times at Leadville. And this is kind of one of the secrets that the locals have taught me to always have on a bike at all times. So anyway, hopefully this helps, and hopefully it wasn't too long-winded. But I hope you have a success at Leadville and get that belt buckle. My name's Max. Hope I meet you out there. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to share with your friends.